There is a power within you that you may have forgotten, a strength that does not disappear when life becomes difficult, a courage that does not depend on applause, and a faith that can rise even when everything around you seems to be falling apart. Sometimes the greatest battle is not against the world outside you, but against the voice inside you that says, you cannot do this. Today, I want you to understand something deeply. You are not as weak as your circumstances have made you feel. There is still power within you. Maybe you have experienced moments when you felt tired of fighting. You prayed, you waited, you tried again, and still the door did not open. You looked at other people moving forward while you felt stuck in the same place. But never confuse a delayed season with a defeated life. What looks like silence may be preparation. What feels like weakness may be the beginning of a deeper strength. There are seasons when God allows you to walk through challenges, not because He has abandoned you, but because He is teaching you that your strength cannot always come from people, possessions, circumstances, or recognition. Sometimes everything you depended upon must become quiet so you can finally discover what has been inside you all along. You have survived days you once believed would destroy you. You have cried and still continued. You have been disappointed and still hoped. You have fallen and found a way to stand again. Think about that. The evidence of your strength is already in your history. You may not feel powerful today, but your survival is proof that something within you refused to surrender. Do not allow one difficult chapter to define your entire story. When you wake up in the morning, do not begin the day by reminding yourself of everything that is wrong. Begin by remembering who you are and what you carry within you. Tell yourself, I may not have every answer today, but I have enough strength to take the next step. I may not understand everything happening around me, but I will not surrender my peace. I may be facing difficulty, but difficulty does not have the final word over my life. Your mind listens to what you repeatedly tell it. If you constantly say, I am finished, eventually your heart begins to believe it. But when you begin to speak words of courage, faith, discipline, and hope, you create a different internal environment. You begin to see possibilities where you once saw walls. This does not mean pretending that problems do not exist. Faith is not denial. Courage is not the absence of fear. Real strength is looking directly at the difficulty and saying, I am afraid, but I will keep moving. I am tired, but I will not give up. I do not know what tomorrow holds, but I refuse to surrender today. There is tremendous power in taking one more step. You do not need to solve your entire life in one day. You do not need to know every detail of your future before you begin. Sometimes the next step isn't enough. Take the next step. Make the next decision. Say the next prayer. Do the next right thing. Keep moving. And when you fall, do not turn your fall into an identity. You made a mistake. That does not mean you are a mistake. You experienced failure. That does not mean you are a failure. Someone rejected you. That does not mean you are unworthy. Something ended. That does not mean your future has ended. What if the strength you are searching for is not something you need to find outside yourself, but something you need to protect within yourself? every day, your body and mind are communicating with you. Fatigue, irritability, poor concentration, tension, low motivation, and restless sleep can all be signs that your system needs attention. We often celebrate people who keep pushing despite exhaustion, but real strength is not measured by how long you can ignore your needs. Real strength is knowing how to restore yourself so you can continue living, working, loving, and growing with greater stability. Your physical health and mental well-being are deeply connected. When your body is constantly deprived of sleep, movement, nutritious food, or recovery time, your ability to manage stress can suffer. Likewise, when you experience prolonged stress, worry, loneliness, or emotional pressure, you may notice changes in your sleep, appetite, energy, concentration, and physical comfort. This connection means that protecting your inner power requires more than positive thinking. It requires practical care for the whole person. Start with something that seems simple but is incredibly important. Sleep. A tired mind can make manageable problems feel overwhelming. After inadequate sleep, patience may decrease, concentration can become more difficult, and emotional reactions may become stronger. Consistent, restorative sleep gives the body an opportunity to recover and gives the brain time to process information and regulate emotions. Instead of treating sleep as wasted time, recognize it as part of your preparation for the next day. Rest is not weakness. Rest is maintenance. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you allowed yourself to recover without feeling guilty about it? Many people are constantly connected to work, messages, entertainment, social media, and responsibilities. Their bodies may be sitting still, but their minds never receive a genuine pause. A few intentional moments of quiet during the day can help create psychological space. Put down the phone, step outside, breathe slowly, sit somewhere peaceful. Give your attention to the present moment instead of continuously rehearsing yesterday or worrying about tomorrow. Your breathing can become an immediate reminder that you are not required to react to every stressful thought. When you feel overwhelmed, slow your breathing and give yourself a moment before responding. This does not eliminate every problem, but it can create enough space for a more thoughtful response. Sometimes strength is not shouting louder or moving faster. Sometimes strength is pausing long enough to choose your next action wisely. Movement is another powerful way to support your physical and mental resilience. You do not necessarily need an extreme workout routine to benefit from physical activity. Walking, stretching, strength exercises, cycling, swimming, or other enjoyable forms of movement can help you remain physically capable and support your overall well-being. If you have been inactive, start at a level appropriate for you and build gradually. The goal is not punishment. The goal is participation in your own health. Think about what happens when you move your body consistently. You begin to trust yourself differently. You say, I am going to take a walk, and then you take the walk. You decide to stretch for 10 minutes, and you do it. You choose to become more active, and over time, that repeated behavior becomes evidence that you can keep promises to yourself. This is where physical health and inner strength meet. Your nutrition also matters. Food is not merely about appearance or body weight. Your body needs adequate nutrients to function, repair itself, and support daily activity. A balanced eating pattern that includes vegetables and fruits, whole grains, protein-rich foods, and appropriate healthy fats can support overall health. Hydration matters as well. When your daily routine is built around highly processed foods, excessive added sugars, or irregular eating patterns, you may find it harder to maintain consistent energy. Small improvements repeated over time are usually more sustainable than extreme restrictions. And then there is the invisible diet. What you feed your mind, every conversation, video, headline, social media post, and repeated thought can influence your emotional environment. If you constantly expose yourself to fear, comparison, anger, and negativity, your mind may begin to treat those experiences as normal. You cannot control everything you encounter, but you can become more intentional about what receives your attention. Ask yourself, what am I allowing to occupy my mind every day? That question can change your routine. You do not need to consume every argument. You do not need to compare your life with carefully edited versions of other people's lives. You do not need to respond to every criticism. Protecting your mental health sometimes means creating boundaries around information, conversations, and relationships that repeatedly leave you emotionally exhausted. This does not mean avoiding every difficult situation. Healthy resilience is not isolation. It is the ability to recognize what deserves your energy and what does not. Another essential part of protecting your inner power is learning how to speak to yourself. Pay attention to the language you use when you make a mistake. Do you say, "I always fail"? Do you tell yourself, "I am not good enough"? Or can you replace those absolute judgments with something more accurate? "I made a mistake, but I can learn from it." There is a profound difference between accountability and self-destruction. Accountability says, "I need to improve." Self-destruction says, "I am worthless." One encourages growth. The other drains it. Your inner dialogue matters because repeated thoughts can influence how you interpret experiences and how you respond to challenges. You do not have to believe every thought that appears in your mind. A thought is an event in your mind, not automatically a fact. When fear says, "You cannot handle this," pause and ask, "What evidence do I have?" When discouragement says, "Nothing will ever change," ask, "Is that really true, or am I exhausted right now?" When failure says, "This is the end," remind yourself, this is one difficult moment, not the entire story. This kind of mental discipline is not pretending everything is perfect. It is learning to think with greater accuracy, compassion, and perspective. Relationships also influence your health. Humans need connection. Having trusted people with whom you can speak honestly can provide emotional support during difficult seasons. You do not need a huge circle. Sometimes one trustworthy person can make an enormous difference. If you are struggling emotionally for a prolonged period, reaching out to a qualified mental health professional can also be an important act of strength. Asking for support does not mean you have failed. It means you recognize that your well-being deserves attention. Your inner power grows when you stop treating yourself as a machine. Machines are expected to run continuously. Human beings are not. You need recovery. You need nourishment. You need movement. You need connection. You need meaningful activity. You need moments of stillness. You need boundaries. You need sleep. You need encouragement. You need purpose. Ignoring these needs does not make you stronger. Meeting them can help you become more resilient. Imagine waking up tomorrow with a different mindset. Instead of asking, how much can I accomplish today? Ask, what can I do today that supports the person I want to become? Maybe it is a 20-minute walk. Maybe it is preparing a healthier meal. Maybe it is going to bed earlier. Maybe it is turning off your phone for an hour. Maybe it is having an honest conversation. Maybe it is finally asking for professional support. Maybe it is simply taking 5 quiet minutes to breathe and reset. Do not underestimate these choices because they appear small. A healthier life is rarely created by one dramatic decision. It is built through ordinary decisions repeated consistently. Every time you choose movement instead of complete inactivity, you reinforce a healthier pattern. Every time you choose rest instead of unnecessary exhaustion, you reinforce recovery. Every time you choose a balanced meal, you invest in your body. Every time you challenge an unnecessarily negative thought, you practice mental flexibility. Every time you set a healthy boundary, you protect your emotional energy. Every time you ask for help when you genuinely need it, you demonstrate courage. This is how inner power becomes visible in everyday life. You do not need to become a completely different person overnight. You need to become more intentional about how you care for the person you already are. And perhaps the most important question is this: what would change if you treated your health as something valuable rather than something you only think about when something goes wrong? You might begin noticing the early signs of exhaustion instead of waiting until you completely burn out. You might recognize when stress is affecting your sleep. You might pay attention to persistent physical symptoms instead of automatically dismissing them. You might stop glorifying constant exhaustion. You might understand that prevention and routine care are forms of responsibility, not fear. Your body deserves attention, and your mind deserves compassion. If something feels persistently wrong, physically or emotionally, do not rely solely on motivational messages or internet advice. Speak with an appropriate healthcare professional, especially when symptoms are severe, persistent, or changing. Strength includes knowing when professional evaluation is necessary. Your power within you is not unlimited energy. It is the capacity to care for yourself wisely, respond to challenges with greater stability, and continue growing without destroying your own well-being in the process. Protect that power, protect your sleep, protect your attention, protect your movement, protect your nutrition, protect your relationships, protect your peace. Protect the way you speak to yourself, because the person you are trying to become needs the person you are today to take care of the foundation. And sometimes the most powerful decision you can make is not to push harder. It is to take better care of yourself so you can keep moving forward with strength, clarity, and purpose.